With so much software and so many services available in the short-term rental industry these days, it's increasingly difficult to keep up to date with what's on the market and to determine whether it's a maybe or a must-have for you and your business. So meet one provider each week in a short interview, learning what they do and what they offer. So if you have around 20 minutes to spare, it could prove to be a very good investment to stick around. So let's see who and what is out there, one by one, with me, Deborah Larby, also known as the Guest Inspector. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Techsplained with the Guest Inspector. Do you really know who you're letting into your property? And are security deposits still a headache for you and your guests? Add to that an insurance policy or two to make sure your property and your guests are protected. And then imagine there's one company that can do all of this for you in one policy. Today, I'm chatting with Amanda, who will explain what Safely has to offer. Hello, Amanda. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much for coming along today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
That's fine. Amanda, can you please tell me, in one sentence, what does Safely do?
Yeah, so we essentially help your homeowners answer what we think two of their most pressing questions are. And that's one, who's staying in their home? And two, what happens when something goes wrong? And we do that through simply guest screening and liability and damage insurance.
Lovely. Okay. So let's say I'm a property manager and I want to check out Safely and get a policy. What's the process to sign up with you guys? What's the process?
Yeah, so first is to have a conversation with our business, like one of our business development team members. We really pride ourselves in catering to your specific needs. So we'd love to have a conversation with you and talk about your portfolio, what your ranges might be, whether you just have condos or you have a ton of, multi-million-dollar homes. So that's that process, is really just get in touch with us, shoot us an email, give us a call, and have a conversation, and we go from there.
Mm-hmm. So then let's say we've got let's say I own one property, a brick freestanding house. We go through all the process of, I'm sure you'll need all the details to form the policy, at least for the structure. What are all the things that are covered in the policy that you're going to give me?
Yeah. So we have two different programs. We have a program for our individual homeowners, which, by the way, if you are an individual homeowner, you can go ahead and get a quote online. Mm-hmm. And then if you're a professional property manager managing for others, that's when we have that conversation. I just wanted to clarify that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But what we're offering is up to $1 million in liability and dwelling content and dwelling coverage, and then the contents of your home. Mm-hmm. So we have, the dwelling is all of your walls and everything. And then obviously liability, that means slips and falls. If a guest decides to sue you for whatever reason, we have your back. And then all the contents is all the loose items in your homes as well.
Mm-hmm. So if the guest breaks my oven, so then I make a claim and that's covered.
Yes. And so this is where you want to be specific too. And we believe in transparency here, right? So we're not covering wear and tear. So for example, if your oven was old and it happened to break down during the guest stay, that's not really a covered loss, right? Yeah. But if your guest was like a little too rough with your handles, if they just misused it, if their kid decided to jump on the, on the door of it somehow, we've seen it all, just so you know.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, we would cover that, and just depending on whether it's a plug-in stove versus one of those really beautiful like Viking stoves, it would be contents or a dwelling. But yeah, that's the kind of example that we cover.
Yeah, and then if the guest burns the house down.
Yes, that's covered. That's a covered loss, right? Whether so if a guest burns a house down, I think we covered 3 kitchen fires last year. And one of them was, that they burned, they did something weird in the kitchen. I don't know how it happened, but they ended up not being a good cook, burning up the kitchen. There were, smoke stains, burn stains on the ceiling. There was water flooding everywhere because of the sprinklers. All of that was all the remediation for everything with that's covered.
Wow. Okay. So let's say, okay, we've got the policy, and the policy includes the guest screening, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So what
Yes.
go ahead.
No, go on.
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're running kind of a low friction identity verification. We're checking the sex offender registry. I think that's probably the one of the biggest growing concerns is the sex offender registries. More and more jurisdictions are requiring that. So if you're in Arizona, give us a call because we can help you with that. So sex offender registry. We can also include a criminal background check, so we can look to see if they've committed a felony, that kind of thing. And then also we have our own global sanctions as well. And then our own proprietary list of risky renters. So those who have caused intentional damage in the past or broken house rules, that kind of thing.
Lovely. So in a nutshell, my policy covers my contents, the structure of my property, personal injury to my guests, and guest screening.
Yes.
Okay, so I have my policy. You are integrated with PMS. So how does that policy merge with my PMS and bookings?
Yeah, so we are currently partnered with around 30, I think, property management, so PMSs right now. Yeah. And so if you're using one of those, we can actually just grab your API keys. We connect right from your PMS. We pull in your data and your reservation, guest, and property data automatically, and that pulls into our system. And as soon as that guest books, you are covered. And it's that simple. And then from our system, you click a make claim button. And once you have all of your documents gathered, we know it takes more than 5 minutes to gather your documents, but once you have all of your documents gathered, it takes you 5 minutes to fill out this form right in our system.
But when the booking comes through, though, when that booking information comes to you, does the guest have to do anything for the guest screening?
Yes, absolutely. So unless you are already, so it depends on the type of integration that we have with each PMS. So every software integration, we have a different level of depth of our integration. If you are able to gather up the name, the date of birth, and the address, and that PMS has those fields in their system, preset fields, then we are able to pull in that information as once it's booked. Otherwise, the way the process works is the guest books, and then we'll send out a co-branded notification to your guests, and then they click a link and fill out a form.
And does it involve a selfie picture as well and that sort of thing, or is it just name and date of birth?
So we have two versions. One is our lower friction, right? So the one where they just kind of self-submit, they fill out the form, and that's a little bit less friction for the guest. And in the coming weeks, we do have the document verification version. So our clients will be able to choose which level of friction they want to introduce to their guests. So that one is coming down in the coming weeks. I'm very excited about that piece where they take a selfie, take a picture of their ID, that kind of thing. And then
do you store that? So in case that guest wants to book another property somewhere else and someone else is using Safely, does that guest have to verify themselves again?
They do. Yeah, they still do. We are working on some technology updates. We have heard that is a request. I'm not ready to reveal all of our technological developments, but we do have quite a few solutions coming down the road. As the director of customer happiness, I've been listening to our customers. We've all been listening to our customers. And so the requests that the repeat requests that have been coming in are being translated to our tech team.
That's fantastic. Great. Yeah. Okay. So the booking comes through, you get the information. Let's say the guest gets the green tick. What happens if the guest gets it? What happens then?
Yeah. So we're very hands-on. This is where I think we do a really good job from what I've experienced. So what happens is when we find something on a background check, right? We don't immediately alert the property manager, right? Because we're finding this fine balance between fast turnaround times, but also are the due diligence that's required by the Fair Credit Reporting Act. We really need to make sure that the person on this report is that same person on your booking, right? That also kind of protects you too. You don't want to unnecessarily cancel reservations, right? So if somebody has a common name and there might be another John Smith with their date of birth that has something on their background, and so what we do is we do a little extra diligence. Once we're at a certain level of diligence, then we reach out to our property managers and we let them know what's on the background, right? And then from there, it's up to the property manager to decide whether or not they are comfortable with the guest staying in their home. And we're still, if they're on our insurance products, we're still covering their reservations regardless of their decision. However, if they were a former arsonist or something like that, we'd probably nudge you a little harder to maybe want to consider just 5 more minutes. Let's talk it through, right? We still leave it up to our clients are usually more sensitive than us. Okay. So if the property manager is not comfortable, then our process is we actually will call the guest for you. And it's then still don't cancel the reservation. We then do further diligence to make sure if we can get in touch with that guest, give them the benefit of the doubt. And if they kind of give us the right information and we confirm, usually the conversation is the guest says, yeah, that was me 3 years ago. I did that. And then we're the ones that have that uncomfortable conversation for you with the guests, letting them know, okay, well, based on this, we have the property manager did decide, if we confirmed it was you, that we're going to cancel that they're going to cancel the reservation. So then we take it upon ourselves to have that conversation. We send the adverse action letter out to the guest and give you a copy of it and all the letters and stuff that are required. So we take care of that for you. You really then just have to cancel the reservation and then give refunds, whatever your policy is.
Yeah. Okay. So then that's basically it. That policy then replaces a security deposit.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really the intention here. So we have a range of deductibles available, but we can do as low as a $0 deductible. And what that helps is it also helps with guest friction in that checkout friction, right? They're not having to have you hold and trust you with holding $1,000. They much more, what we found is that guests would often much rather just pay $50 or whatever it is that you're charging them to cover their stay, so they can kind of relax during their vacation.
Yeah. So can you explain this now? So in terms of you're being integrated, et cetera. So as a property manager, I'll just add an extra fee. This is my insurance policy fee for you. You pay $50 or whatever it's going to be, and you don't have to pay a security deposit. That $50 is a non-refundable insurance policy. And so I charge the guest.
Correct. Yeah. And so what most of our clients do is they'll work us into their cost of doing business. So on their personal websites, they might list us as a line item, like safely a trust and safety fee. And then from their other, we all know that there are limitations with how you can name fees within Airbnb, Vrbo, booking.com, you're limited to their verbiage. So what our clients will do is work us into their cost of doing business fees. And a benefit that's maybe overlooked, because we're a cost of doing business and you're not a licensed agent that is selling insurance. This is a required fee for every guest. You will charge you what we charge you. And then it's up to you whether or not you want to add, stack on top of that, add a little margin. You're perfectly allowed. You're allowed to mark it up, basically, because it's a cost of doing business and it's your own decision.
Yeah. Well, isn't that music to our ears?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that insurance waiver that we can make money from, and it's all just built in. Great.
Yeah, it is. And even if you break even, you're still there's still other ways that financially you're benefiting. Of course, insurance, it's not an ATM machine, right? It's not apples to apples. I paid this, so I should file this exact number of claims. It's more about that margin that you're talking about, and then also the added security that you're giving your homeowners too. It's very attractive. We found it to be very attractive for homeowners and for our clients building their business out. Actually,
in Australia, insuring holiday rentals was like a hot potato. One year, my insurance company was doing it, and then I happened to call them about something. It's like, oh, holiday rentals. Oh, we're not insuring them anymore. Next end of the policy, you have to change. And I actually said, so if I hadn't called you and brought it to your attention, I'd still have this policy and I'd still be covered. Yes. And so there's only one company really in Australia that I know of now that does. I mean, there's only one. And it can be a headache, maybe, depending on your location, but have everything included in one. But my question to you then is, the insurance policy covers the property while a guest is there.
Correct.
What happens if there's like an electrical fault while the house is empty and the house burns down?
That's going to fall under your normal homeowner's insurance, right? So we're not a replacement for your homeowner's insurance.
Right.
We're also only charging you for when the guest is there. So during that guest period, we become your primary insurance.
Right.
So actually another benefit is if the guest burns your house down, you're going to file your claim first with us, and we're not going to subrogate with your homeowner's insurance. The reason why that's so important, Deborah, is because let's say you hadn't had that conversation yet with your homeowner's insurance, or you had, and then they said, oh, we don't cover that anymore, and then you were to file that claim with your homeowner's insurance, you're essentially potentially putting your own insurance policy at risk. But we're helping as well as a byproduct to protect your personal insurance policies, because we're that first line of defense instead.
So we have you for structure and the public liability. I think looking after the guests is a very important one as well, and the guest screening, etc. But we still have to have our basic property building insurance.
Yes. And same, you still want your commercial, as for professional property managers listening, you still want your commercial general liability. But again, we're kind of helping you protect that policy because you're filing with us. Also, you want to take a look at your commercial general liability policies to see if there's an exclusion for off-premise coverage. Off of your own personal, brick and mortar offices as well. See how far it extends as well.
Okay, lovely. Now, why would I use your product? What are your unique selling points?
Oh, yeah. So we have competitors. We were the first of our kind. This is what we do. It's what we do best, is short-term rentals. But some of the ways that we differentiate ourselves, let's go back to the revenue stream. We help our homeowners we help our property managers build their business. So we're creating these beautiful co-branded materials that our clients love to use as part of their sales pitch when they're prospecting new homeowners. I can talk about that more later and some examples. That's one way. Another way, really, though, I think is our claims and what we require with our claims, right? So one, we can genuinely create a product for you. We are very one-on-one. Two, we're very accessible, right? So we're here for you. We pride ourselves in being very personal, but the claims process is so easy and frictionless, right? It really does, once you have your materials, take 5 minutes to file the claim. And then the contingencies behind it too, the lack of contingencies, I'd say, we give you up to 60 days from the date of loss to submit your claim, which a lot of competitors out there are really just a couple of weeks. And we know that that's unrealistic. Some booking channel coverages, right, or damage protections require you to file it within a couple of weeks or before your next guest arrives. If you have a busy season, that's not realistic. So we know things happen. And then the other piece that I think is really important, so this is 2 of 3 of this part, is we don't require guest involvement for damage claims. In other words, we're not requiring you to go back to the guest to try and get them to pay for the damage. Here, you just file your claim, give us all the right documents, good photos, the correct receipts, tell us the right dollar amount, and it has to be guest-related damage. But we're not asking you to get the guest to admit fault. To me, I think that is so important because there are channels out there, there are competitors out there that require that. And if you're having that conversation before your guest reviews the stay, okay, it's yeah. So, that's another piece. And then I'd say the third piece, I kind of lost my train of thought. I was really focused on that piece. I'd say those are two of the really biggest pieces, I'd say, that help differentiate us. There are other things that I know I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. I should have written down, but those are two of the biggest ones.
Yeah. And you were talking about co-branding before. So when my guest sees it, they're going to see my logo as well as yours.
Yeah, and that's with the email. So right, so we can co-brand as long as you have your logo.
And that's the email is that the email for the guest screening?
Exactly. So it's basically like we've partnered with Deborah's Lovely Properties. I don't know your business, I apologize, but we've partnered with your company to protect the community, and it helps them with that. And then the brochures themselves as well. They're co-branded for you to help with those selling points with your homeowners. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, the homeowners will be happy about that. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, where is your target audience? Whereabouts are they? Mainly America?
So today we are covering US and US territories, but we are actually looking at our office. We're so close to finalizing our international product. We're looking at offices now. We're going to be jumping into the EU soon, UK. Those are going to come sooner. I know that we're looking at Australia, and we're kind of expanding from here.
Yes, it's a big market in Australia.
It's very exciting.
Now, also, who is your target audience? How big a company or just one property? Does it have to be one property is enough, right?
Yeah, one property is enough. So we do cater to individual hosts that are kind of really building it out on their own, and they're out there in the Wild West doing it. And then we all the way up to thousands of homes. I know my understanding is a lot of property managers that have thousands of homes in their company, a lot of them will self-insure, but the reason why we are starting to appeal to that level as well is because we're helping reduce the headache of claims. It is a big job to have to keep track of all of the homeowner damage, and then also still keep all of the homeowners happy with them trusting that, okay, yes, this is all getting paid out, this is all getting taken care of. We know some companies have entire staffs just dedicated to claims, right? And so what we're able to do is just reduce that headache off of you.
Yeah, that's great. Now, also in terms of a cost, so I understand insurance policies vary, obviously, how big a property is, what it's made of, location, et cetera. And also, given that you're only covered for a booking. So how does it work? Once we've gone through the process of describing the property, et cetera, do you give a price per night? Is that how I get charged for my policy?
Generally speaking, yeah. So our prices are usually per night. The range really, there is a wide range, depending on how much coverage you need, how large of a deductible you want. Those are actually the two biggest factors. And then, so it is generally per night. So our pricing is centered around per night pricing. And we can work with you if it just is easier for you and you have some data to back it up. We can work with you on a flatter rate too. That one just requires a little bit more, a little bit like a couple minutes longer conversation, I'd say, to cater it. So we have a little flexibility around that, but generally speaking, that's per night.
Yeah, because I was thinking for the insurance fee, I thought that might be a flat rate per booking, but I suppose it depends on how long the stay is and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like for
Mm.
some of our clients, they just prefer the per night because it's straightforward.
Yeah.
But we can work with property managers that really prefer a flat rate. We can work with you. We can figure that out if we have enough data to kind of work with you on.
Yeah, I just saw some dollar signs there. You have the flat rate and then you get like, 15 2-night stays and all of a sudden ka-ching. Sorry.
Yeah,
Mine was racing
that's the
ahead.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's booking channels there. It just depends on what you're using, but and depends on your property management software too.
Mm-hmm.
We do get involved in onboarding and helping you create your fees because our partnerships we do have healthy relationships with our partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a certain level of understanding of how each software works. Of course, we're never going to be the expert in that software, but we try to educate ourselves as much as possible to guide you through creating fees and the nuances of each PMS.
Yeah. And given that it's an insurance,
Mhm.
is there a contract? There'd have to be a contract?
Yeah, so we do have a general, of course, an agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the contract is just general, you promise to pay the normal things. There's a
Yeah.
lot of legal jargon in there that
Yeah.
you can have a good read at night.
Yeah.
But it basically just goes over your pricing and how we got to that pricing.
Yeah.
Um, and then but you can give us a 30-day notice at any
Yeah.
time
Okay.
to cancel, so it doesn't lock you in for a year or anything.
Yeah. What about a property owner who goes away 2 months of the year?
We're only charging you when you have
Of
reservations.
course. Of
Yeah.
course.
So yeah,
Okay.
so you're not paying for that. So if there's nobody in your
Yeah.
home, you don't have
Yeah.
a safety cost. It's just whenever you have guests, you pay for that. If the reservation cancels, you get a full reimbursement. So even though there is an upfront cost whenever there is a booking for
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
we just find it simpler to eat that cost ourselves and just give you the full refund for the
Yeah.
cancellation.
That's great. Well, let's come to the end of the usual questions. I'm sure there's a lot more that you can talk about with Safely because
Sure,
there's a
yeah.
lot more. Is there anything else you want to add before we start winding up?
I think we covered so much. I don't believe in overdoing it, but I just want to say, our door is open. We're low pressure. We really genuinely want to help you, and we pride ourselves in caring about your homes
Yeah,
and your
yeah.
business.
Yeah. If you have any questions, you can pop them in the comments below, and I will put a link for Safely in the description. So if you have any questions or if you want to get in touch, feel free. Amanda, it's been a pleasure learning about Safely today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your time. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to catch up on ones you've missed, just head to the techsplainedseries.com. Or if you're short for time, you can head to thetechminis.com where you'll find extra short interviews. See you next time.